Today we've got an uncommon find, Peter Hassan. You like that. How about that fire new intro right there? Only took 32 months to build it.
Finally.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gonna
rolling
roll
with it.
If it's not new, then it's not new.
Gosh, that's
Dang.
good. It's good to have that. No offense to Russ and Kara Winger, who are two of my favorite people in the world, but I was getting super tired of seeing them throw the discus in the intro.
Oh, the discus is so good. The spin move into the...
Yeah, those two are all time too. If I'm having a party, they're on my party invite list because they're a good time. Pete, what's up, man?
What's up?
The people haven't seen you in a while.
I'm trying to avoid the camera.
So
I'm not a big camera guy anymore.
Peter used to be a regular through, if you go back, and you should do this right now if you're watching this, Google the sweater series.
I still have that sweater.
And then you could go back and listen to some of the early Uncommon Finds episodes with me, Pete, and Corey. Street Pete, man on the street, bringing the pop culture hits to us.
Yeah, I've lost touch
But you're a
with
different
pop
man
culture.
now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older.
Yeah, a little bit older.
My palate's a little more seasoned.
A little more mature, different responsibilities now. Back then he was just a young fledgling intern trying to make his way in the world, whatever your job was. We were talking about this the other day. What was your initial job description or job title?
I don't think I had one.
Yeah.
They were just like, I didn't even, when I showed up, there was no job interview.
You know what's even funnier to me, and I'm talking to Corey now through the camera, but like the fact that they found him at a surf competition, like I would never imagine him going to a surf competition ever again. Like
I wore a pair of Hurley board shorts like I knew what I was doing.
There's no way this guy has ever been.
No.
All right.
No.
Carhartt collab.
Yeah.
Ooh,
they're
really?
Going up with their
Really
Instagram
Carhartt collab.
circle on icon or on their little
For
icon.
board shorts?
Yeah.
Wow.
Kind of nice.
Bunch of stuff.
Looks kind of
cool.
nice. Yeah.
Well, anyways, if you stuck through that, you're a real hero.
Uncommon find.
Yeah, uncommon find early. But Pete is joining us today, and right now Pete's job is to head up all of our business development for the media buying side of our business.
Yeah.
So he spends most of his days talking to potential clients about coming to work for CTC on the paid media side. So the biggest side of our business. So Pete is probably the first touch point for most of the people that come in through the door here at CTC, which is something that we're really proud of because we think he's a great dude and a great person to intro you into CTC. But today we wanted to talk about a new specific program that we've created here at CTC that we call the Expert Buyer Program. So Pete, what is Expert Buyer and why would somebody want it?
So basically, Expert Buyer came to be when we were evaluating whether our full service growth team, so if you don't know, we work in full service growth teams. It's inclusive of 5 people, 2 media buyers, a strategist, an account manager, and a designer. But for everybody, that's not really the best scenario. That team really makes sense when you're kind of established, you're spending a lot of money in these channels, you have a good business model and have kind of established a product market fit, because that team's expensive, right? And I think it came out of a conversation with myself, you, and a potential client where we really liked the brand and they just weren't quite ready to make the transition to the full 5-person team. It was too cost prohibitive, but we were like, hey, we want to figure out how to help these people.
Yep.
And you guys probably know if you watch some of our content, but we're here to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. And so kind of early on in that process, it was either like, well, you can fit into our program or we can't really service you. And so Expert Buyer is one of the ways that we've really tried to think through how we can help some of these earlier stage businesses. And so essentially from that 5-person team, you take 1 media buyer off the team and they work as what we call your expert buyer to help you grow, to help you find scale, and to really find if this channel is going to be profitable for your business kind of in the long term.
So that's exactly right.
Lens.
Is that most of our clients that work on the full growth team are north of, we'll say, $50,000 a month in spend.
Sure.
That's really the threshold where our deal structure and being able to take advantage of that sort of volume of resources makes sense. But that leaves an entire sort of large segment of the market that we call between, let's say, $10,000 and $50,000 a month in spend, unaddressed by CTC. And the reality is that if we're here to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, if you think of a graph, and on the y-axis is the number of entrepreneurs, and the x-axis is spend, the reality is there's a lot more entrepreneurs that are spending between $10,000 and $50,000 than there are spending north of $50,000.
Sure.
So we felt like we were doing our mission a disservice to not be able to offer something to that portion of the market. And so we said, hey, for most of those people, What they need is really somebody that they can trust, that has been vetted, and that they know will do a great job to help get them off the ground, get things set up appropriately, and starting to create scale in platform at a cost that makes sense.
Sure. I think one thing it has provided tremendous value for the clients that we've had join the program is it gives you like a familiar touch point with CTC and how we work.
Yep.
So our full service contracts are a bit more lengthy in terms of the timeline, just
Yep.
in terms of onboarding and kind of process. But with our expert buyer program, we're able to offer month-to-month deals. And so it gets you an interaction, it gets you a touch point to start to see how does this agency work? How do they think about media buying? How do they think about creative service
Yep.
and how that supports media buying? And then it creates for a really seamless transition. So if you come into the program, you start to see success quickly, hopefully.
Yep.
The same media buyer that works in that expert buyer program then becomes the media buyer on your full growth team, and they
Yep.
kind of add additional resources to help them find further scale. And so it's really great in terms of come in, let's test this together, let's give it a shot. And it's the same people. We don't have a different subset of media buyers that just work for the smaller brands. It's the same people that are working on day-to-day on some of our largest accounts. So.
Yeah, so it gives us a great entry point into the CTC system for potential clients.
Sure.
To come in, like Pete said, at a really low risk, you get a certified CTC trained media buyer that you know is going to be educated. I know like when you're an early stage brand, if you're looking for freelance support, qualifying an individual to know that they understand how to media buy at scale for consumer product businesses is hard to find.
Yep.
But when you get that here, you can know that, just like Pete said, these aren't a subset of like interns or something that we're giving these businesses to. These are media buyers on our growth teams that are managing millions of dollars for some of the best brands in the world. And they're going to work directly with you to ensure that you get everything set up appropriately. And then their goal is to help you scale to get to a point where working with a full growth team makes sense.
Totally.
So one of the things that we think about a lot too is that one of the weird things about media buying is that the greatest efficiencies that are offered to clients are usually the biggest brands. Right. Meaning if you're one of the biggest companies in the world, you have the buying power to negotiate the percentage of money that you spend on your media down to somewhere between, let's call it 7 and 15%. For those that are spending north of $100,000, $200,000 a month on media, you're able to get down to that low of a percentage. What's weird is that at the low levels of spend, the efficiencies are actually way, way worse. Meaning to find somebody who has the experience of an expert level media buyer when you're only spending $15,000, $20,000 a month is really, really difficult. And oftentimes we see people come to us spending almost as much money on their agency as they are on their media, right? So they're paying almost 100% or a 50% markup on their media. And so for us, we wanted to be able to create an entry point where the price matched that same level of efficiency as it does at the higher levels in this program.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think a lot of conversations like you're alluding to, it's like if you pay the agency such a massive markup, it's going to strain the relationship first and foremost, and then it's going to make it nearly impossible for you to be profitable, no matter how good the agency is, no matter how good your brand is. So you don't have a real justice point to say, hey, we have a product market fit, because you're constantly thinking of, I'm shelling out a massive check, I'm losing money, when in reality, that might not be the case. You might have a really great product and some really great structure in paid media, but your markup's too high. So
yeah, that's exactly right. And so that's one of the things you should always be considering is what is like my actual percentage of markup on my media, and how does that actually help me to get back out to profitability? And so that's one of the things that we're always trying to ensure that the value proposition is set up where it's mutually beneficial for both us and our clients. And so creating Expert Buyer was our way of saying to our clients, hey, like, if you try and pay for a full growth team right now at your level of spend, it's not going to make sense for you financially, and it's going to lead to bad outcomes. And we also think that you should be cautious of people who will tell you that they'll provide a full growth team level of service, including creative, for $5,000, because I know how agencies work, and all that means is that they're going to give you tiny amounts of attention. And so we didn't want to bring the full growth team offering downstream, because all that means is that we would have to allocate tiny percentages of our time to you in a way that would make your service worse. So instead, we feel like this is a better version of the product than asking you to either increase your spend in a way that'll lead to bad profitability or downsize our service in a way that'll lead to bad outcomes as well. So we're constantly thinking about the best ways to offer you the best service at the phase of business that you're in, whether that's through admission, our membership product, Expert Buyer, or our full growth team.
Yeah, it's awesome. We love it here. So if you guys are interested, check it out. I'm happy to have a conversation about it, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so if you're between that $10,000 and $50,000 tier and spend, talk to Pete and he'll get you hooked up with an expert buyer.